The space of just 14 years, Michael Jordan defined himself as a global superstar, an NBA legend who transcended basketball and became a pop culture legend. The 80s and 90s were a never-ending highlight reel for Jordan in the Bulls, but since 1998, he's largely been off our screens until now. The Last Dance is a new 10-part documentary series chronicling his final season in Chicago and a seemingly implausible sixth NBA title. He has the looks, he has the charisma. He was well spoken, he was intelligent, and he was probably the most captivating performer in history of NBA. Jordan agreed to let the cameras behind the scenes for that dramatic 97-98 season, but the tapes have been under lock and key ever since. It had been kind of production lore, urban legend. I watched 2 or 3 hours of it. It was blown away. So once I found out that I had a gig, it was a dream job. The drama unfolds over 10 episodes, 10 hours in all, revealing one of the world's most famous athletes in some of his more candid moments. It's a chance for younger fans to get to know him, and opportunities for those who lived it to be reminded of the legend. Michael and I came to Chicago in 1984. I was a couple of months ahead of him, so I was able to see him from the very beginning with the balls, and what a huge circus it was. Done. I have to say that covering those six balls championships was probably the highlight of my career here in Chicago. It was an era of great change in the worlds of sports and business, and the time before we were so obsessed with the internet and social media. I was at a charity event for the Bulls back in the day. I was sitting at a bar having a beer, and Michael walked in, sat down next to me. We talked about 20 minutes about dogs, about basketball, and just short the breeze. And when you think back on that moment today, it's impossible to imagine that would happen in the current climate. Just couldn't happen that way. With the supporting cast of characters like Scottie Pippen, the irrepressible Dennis Rodman, and the current Warriors coach Steve Kerr, Jordan delivers the final title seemingly against all the odds. To go back to this series to see how close they were with everything falling apart, and for him to put that team on his back time and time again. By the end of that uh, 98 series, people were either physically or mentally ticked out, and Michael Wood has to carry the team once again. If you wrote the ending to that series, and if you wrote episode 10 in a script, you'd be laughed out at a Hollywood office because it's so corny. It actually came true, and who better to orchestrate that than Michael Jordan himself?